Good evening, please.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Welcome back from the weekend.
Thank you.
And I hope you said goodbye to July in a very perfect way.
True, because now we are beginning with work.
Beautiful.
As long as it gets to August, then that means it's the August house.
As you can hear, August comes with a lot of beautiful and new stuffs.
True.
And for some of us, it could be actually a new beginning of either business, some are getting married, and it's just a new beginning. So, those who are joining us from wherever you are, we want to say thank you so much for taking the time to always keep it locked on DF.TV and following your favorite program, Free for Liberty. And last week, briefly, for those who were not able to catch us live, and if you have not landed on the video yet, I would suggest that you go on the DF.TV Facebook page and find out what we discussed last week. But briefly, I will ask the man himself, Omujingo Dingo, to take us briefly through about the discussions we had last Friday.
Thank you so much. Right from what we had discussed last Friday, we were looking at the Song of Solomon, that is chapter 1, verse 5. And we are saying that Solomon, the wisest man, came up with this kind of conclusion. He said, I'm dark but beautiful, O women of Jerusalem. Dark as the tents of Kedar, dark as the curtains of Solomon's tents. And the message that we had here, because
which scripture is that again?
that is in Songs of Solomon. That is chapter 1, verse 5.
Okay, someone may be in need of
And
it.
this would be a message to all the saloons in the world, most especially to the dark, to us, the black race,
Yes, yes.
because it's us that have suffered much, most especially with the black inferiority, that we struggle time and again to do all that we can to make our skins lighter,
Changing our identity.
changing our identity.
Yes.
And the most funny thing about it is that we rarely use things that are herbal, but we are using most especially things that are chemicals, laboratory made, things that contain mercury to bleach ourselves. And yet we could have a message, and this is a message that would expect maybe to be hanged somewhere in the corner of the saloons, because every lady, every woman that goes to the saloon goes there with one thing in mind: prettiness, beauty. So if we could have this hanging somewhere, maybe on the wall, and it is saying, I'm dark but lovely, or it is saying, I'm dark but beautiful, it would be one way that we get to overcome this kind of color bondage that we've suffered because of the white supremacy. So that is something that we could look at, and quickly to look at how best we could, because being dark is not a problem, but the problem is you being dark and not beautiful. So we need now to see how best do I get to preserve my dark color with the beauty upon it. And you were saying quickly that we need to always work under shades. We shouldn't expose, because it is the sun that may darken you and give you a bad or rough texture of the skin. But if you're dark and your dark color is to remain beautiful, that means we always have to work under shade. We should work under an umbrella. We should work under a tree shade. We should work where we don't have direct contact with the sun's rays, most especially in the afternoons. And we should also ensure that we take pleasure doing skin scrubs, because at times the salts and all other impurities that we may take up right in the body may block up the pores, so that when they block up the pores, then the skin begins to be rough. So when we can always think about always having a skin scrub. And we are also looking at knowing that the fruits contain vitamin C, and vitamin C is good for the skin. Then that means that we should always take plenty of fruits and vegetables. And we are also looking at one other way to keep our temper, calmness, be calm. You know, if you're dark and you're calm, you are so pretty. You smile and, you know, they see the white teeth and in a combination with a dark color, you know, it is real banging, I would say. And we also look at another thing, that we should also think of using gentle soaps on our skin. Don't use launderous soap. You know, the soap that is used to wash saucepans and plates is exactly what you're using to wash your skin. You know, if you're dark, you should think about soaps that are real gentle with the skin. And number 7 is that you should also use shining oils to reflect off the sun's rays. Think about the oils. Oils will do better. Instead of you thinking of something that would stick, most especially the glycerin, think about the oil. Because if you put the oil, you smear the oil on something that is dark, it's like you're polishing it. So that is exactly what we were looking at, most especially last week, that we get to overcome that which would be a burden over to us, that we may even out of bleaching it off. You don't need to bleach up your skin. No, you can maintain it, that you also fall right into the sayings of King Solomon when he said, I'm dark but lovely, I'm dark but beautiful. That is exactly where we threw more light last week.
So those who are joining us, you are not so late. We want to say thank you so much for joining us today on the Free for Liberty. This is a beautiful program. As you have heard from Odinguting, we are taking a recap of what happened last Friday, last week, the last episode we had for the month of July. And today we want to have a very sweet, as usual. Our discussions are always sweet and enticing,
Yes.
so and educative. So we are today. I would ask briefly I will ask his perspective about issues to do with languages. How languages have bound us. How is language something like a bondage? How have we been bound? How have we been in bondages with languages? Omtingu, straight to the point. What do you think about, do you think language is bondage? Like not knowing a certain particular language could be one of the ways that we are bound?
As we were talking about language, we know that language is a way of communication.
Yes, yes.
And at times, the way that you blend what you are expressing, the publicity that you give over to something, the language that you use will determine the publicity, either positively or negatively. So we get to see that at times, because of the language that is used, there can be negative evaluation or negative publicity for something. I'm going to take an example of real what happened right in the Bible. It so happened that Philip saw Jesus. So after him seeing Jesus, this story is narrated in the book of John, chapter 1, verse 43 and 46. After him seeing Jesus, he runs and he tells Nathanael. And when he tells Nathanael, come, I've seen the one that is talked of by the Torah and by the prophets. I've seen him. You know, that would be like an excitement.
Yeah, true.
Somebody that had been talked of by the prophets.
Great things have been spoken of him.
About him.
Yeah.
And the Torah. Everybody, of course, by then, the constitution of these people was based on the Torah.
Yeah.
And now think about that. One that is talked of by the Torah and one that is talked of by all the prophets.
Someone may ask out there, what is Torah?
The Torah, that was the book of Moses.
Okay.
The book of Moses. Also all that had been talked of by Moses. You get it? And then when he tells Nathanael, this was his reply. He said, can anything good come from Nazareth? Can you see? Instead of, we get to see now there is a bondage, language bondage, because of what had talked about Nazareth, what had just been talked about. It is exactly now what was affecting Nathanael. So you get to see this kind of Nathanael mentality. And it may be working out somebody out there, and he may not know that by him adhering to that is being bound. So is losing his liberty.
So basically the problem here is the way we articulate the words. The way the language,
the negativity that has been placed over something.
In the words you're speaking.
In the words that have been spoken.
Okay.
Could be this was taught sometime. You get it? That now, to somebody, instead of him being free, is bound by what others said.
So necessarily it's not that, it's not language as Luganda. It's not language as Lunyankole. It's the way.
What is said.
What is said.
Yes, because what is said is the language that is used.
True.
You get it? So, to him now as he came, he just asked, can anything good come from Nazareth? And this is the question that somebody out there that is bound may be suffering from. And that may be psychological. You get it? If he's told, no, you've been transferred to Busoga, you know, that is, but is there anything good in Busoga? So there are so many even public servants, your civil servants, and time they get to transfer you to go somewhere else, or to leave Kampala, or to go to Kotido, you don't want to be adventurous, simply because you're stuck. There is something that is negative upon you. So people are going to miss you. And people may miss your services and may miss your role play simply because you're stuck. You're bound. You're bound to Kampala. You're bound to the city. Yet the world needs you everywhere. Actually, this is what Jesus said. He said, go to all corners of the earth. But now think about somebody that will be limited. He gets to be tied up. He's tied up right into one place. Why? Because of the negative publicity about the other places.
Bring it down to families. There's a way parents have been relating and treating their children. You know, there are words that are sometimes harsh. That word of Philip speaking about Nazareth,
yes,
it's demeaning. And we feel there's a lot of demeaning words that are being spoken every day.
Yes.
Every day, and is killing. Is it one of the reasons why some of us don't want even to speak in public? To show out like we are from a specific area, or like, you know?
I could say, let's say for an example, you know, a name of anything, a name is a description of a lot. There are names that sound, just name. You say, if you talk, there are names that are big names. And there are names that are unknown. Like you just keep on, you mention your name and nobody knows about you. But you mention of a name, and so now that's why the Bible teaches us that a good name is better to be preferred than even a pile of silver. Are you seeing? So we are now looking at how best do we get. Think about Karamoja. You get it? If somebody just heard, he may not know that it is in Karamoja where there is a lot of treasure. So you talk of Karamoja, and first what comes to his mind, because of the bondage, he doesn't see the tin, he doesn't see the gold, he doesn't see all the diamonds that are there, but he's just
seeing the negativity, the poverty, and the rest.
Yes, and this is exactly what we say, that we came up with this program because we want somebody to be liberated. We want somebody to be freed. We want to remind you that 58 years ago, in the national anthem, first stanza, line number 3, the last 3 words, they say, free for liberty. We are free for liberty. For 58 years.
Freedom for freedom.
Yes. So that is exactly what we would look at. Even now, at times, with the congestion of cities, the city becomes congested because all people think that all chances are in one place.
So people think there is no treasure where they are. You can only find it in Kampala.
That is what happens.
Is it a mindset, a good mindset or a poor mindset?
It's a poor mindset. The treasures are hidden somewhere else. You get it? But this has caused all that simply because of the bondage. You get it? So, that is why we were looking at what? We were looking at the language bondage. And furthermore, emphasizing onto that, we get to see that it is best to have our languages or our tongues unbound. Why? When you are to read the book of Mark chapter 11, verse 23, this is what Jesus said. He said, truly I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, you know now we are looking at a mountain. A mountain is something that we take to be static. You get it? It is something that we think is permanent and pensionable. We already think there is nothing that can be done upon it. Maybe the only thing that you can do is just to crush it. You get it? But now here you are not crushing a mountain. You get it? But he says that if anyone says to this mountain, go throw yourself, this time you are only speaking to the mountain. You're speaking to the mountain. That means mountains have ears to hear. And he says, when you tell it, you say, go throw yourself into the sea. And one, you don't doubt within yourself. So we are getting the element of doubt. The element of doubt is coming because one is bound by language.
Oh, so when I say, can anything good come out of Nazareth?
That is doubt now.
I am doubting.
You're bringing in doubt. And doubt is a bondage.
So generally, my perception about Nazareth is negative.
It's now negative.
There is nothing good that
There is
can come
nothing.
out.
Can anything, that is the question. Can anything good? You get it? And this is a perception to so many. I've heard of stories where whites, if somebody left Uganda and we went maybe to Britain, and then he says, where are you coming from? And he says, I come from Uganda. And they say, is that Idi Amin? You know, can you imagine? That is the same thing that really happens.
After all these years.
And these are things that we always are bound in. You get to talk about Busoga and you say jiggers. You know, this is binding you.
Just because something happened, there some
Yes,
an event took place.
and look here, you're trading something that is negative. Because why would you be proud of despising other regions? Why would you feel happy about your neighbor being downgraded?
Come to think of it, throughout history,
Yes.
even in our, when you compare the history of East Africa, West Africa, Africa, with European history, you know they're totally different things.
This is what happens. To us, we always preserve what is bad. Now, to the other lands, the white man's land, they kill every negativity and promote only the positivity.
The media is always portraying the good things about them.
That is it. It's only the good that is spoken of.
And our media is encouraged to show the negative
That
part
is
of us.
that is how things are done. We play it the other way. You know, they say that when man dies, all the good things that he has done are buried together with his body, and the bad things remain. That is a bondage now. Why would we look only at the bad thing? Why wouldn't we look at the good thing? Because this is what God said in the creation. He said, let there be light. And then there was light, and God saw that the light was good.
Yeah.
Light was good. You get it?
The light.
Yes, the light was good. So even to us, now that is exactly what we need to look at. Why could we stem up doubt amongst our own people? Why wouldn't we look at doubt that we are developing amongst the people as a trap that is going to keep these people right in bondage? Yet we are agitators of liberty. We are agitators of freedom. We want people to be free. We don't want people to be doubtful. Because even doubt itself is sin.
Coming to think of Europe and Africa,
Yes.
do you know that the atrocities done by men like Adolf Hitler
Yes.
are more than what was even
Done by Idi
Idi
Amin.
Amin.
Yes.
And yet Hitler is referred to as one of the greatest warriors of time.
True.
He killed a lot of Jews.
Yes.
And what is the difference between what he did and what Amin did? If
That-
at all it's true.
That's
about
what
it.
I told you, that to them, they always show you the good side of the coin. And I think that is what is divine. You don't have to only promote what is evil. Actually, when you are to read in the scriptures, when Paul was talking to the Philippians, he urged them a mode of thinking. And he tells them, you should always think about things that are honorable. Think about the things that are of value. Think about the things that are high. You get it? You don't have to think about things that are primacy, things that don't make meaning, that can be news. You know, it is here where a man biting a dog makes news. To us here. But would that make news now? You get it? So, that is why we are here to unbind. Maybe it is the media or somewhere. Why would you always look at things that cause doubt amongst the people? Why are you instigating? Why there? To always bring in something that may be contrary. Something that may ruin another one's character. Something that may ruin another one's shape. Something that may come in and it's a reproach upon another. Because the Bible teaches us to love one another. And this is what Jesus said. He said, that he loved us with immense love. With big love. You get it?
Yes.
And that is exactly what we are also urged to. But because of language bondage, that's why we see that according to what is written in Revelation 5:9, when Jesus was purchasing us with his blood, he was purchasing us from every language. There are many things that have been spoken over us. You get it?
Yeah.
Mostly things that are contrary to what we are.
There is more negativity than positivity.
And that is what sorcerers do. Sorcerers will speak what is contrary. Instead of him saying that you produce sons and daughters, to him he binds up your womb that you don't bear. If he dares bear any kid, he will come and remove hair from my palm. You're not talking about such things, you get it? So we get look at that, and this is how Jesus would come up and he say, he unbounds. He gets to unbind the tongue or the language. When he says, I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and does not doubt in their heart, but believe what they say, it will happen and it will be done for them. Are you now seeing how great we can become? Irrespective of what the negative publicity that maybe they have put upon your area. You know, there is one area that I really admire. I think if anybody ever talked about it, if you talked about the Karo Karungi, the beautiful village, that is in Nyabusozi. Are you getting me?
Yes.
So, could we also keep on beautifying places? Are you getting me? But why would you talk about Chamagwa, like a village you are calling it for the thorns? Now who will go and stay there? If at all I get to know. That is for the thorns.
So,
are you getting me? Bukoma Simbi. Now tell me, would you love to stay in Bukoma Simbi?
maybe some people would love to go there because they don't understand the meaning.
And no, this is exactly now we are looking at. Can this bind up this place?
What you're saying,
Chisenyi.
you mean a name of something means a lot to the...
Definitely, that's what the Bible teaches us, that a good name is better to be preferred than a pile of rubies. That is the truth. You get it? So, and like, you think about something, that anything, the packaging of something is important. That's why here, in the local people, they have a saying, once you poor packaging, so language is something that packages up something. You get it? So that means once you don't have a good language, you'll not even know how to pray. You don't know how to pray. That's why, actually, the Bible teaches us that you don't have because you don't pray. You pray and you don't receive because you pray badly. That means you don't know how to pray. Are you getting me? So, that is why we are much more emphasizing as to why our people should be liberated.
So
Even
the black people have been fed with a lot of negativity about themselves.
a lot.
About their land, about their culture, about their...
And some of these are done by evil people or by wicked people. Are you getting me? Like if somebody is a killer and they call that place, oh, that is Chikuba Mutwe. Chikuba Mutwe, they hit on the head. And you know that is what is spread for all years. You're maintaining Chikuba Mutwe. What are you? What kind of seed are you trying to plant? You tell me that. Because we have Chikuba Mutwe everywhere. We have Chiwunya in Nankolabye.
Chikuba Mutwe, there's that place in Kabalaga.
Yes. So there is Chikuba Mutwe and then there is Chiwunya. Are you getting me?
Downside of
Yes. There is Chitezi. Are you getting all these? So we are looking at how the language, there is Kabimbiri. Because people would poison others, then they call that Kabimbiri. Mimbiri is poison. Are you getting me? So are we still to go up with the same story? Because remember what we said. We said that what happened in heaven, they said, and they sang a new song. Could we have a new song for Chiwunya? Could we have a new song for Chisenyi? Could we have a new song for Kabimbiri? Or we are going to keep with the old song? That is the question.
Are you keeping the old song, or you are, writing or rewriting another song for you and your life? For you who is listening and watching this program, and you're a parent, you are, or a young man who is planning one day what names to marry or to get married? What names are you planning to give your children? That is the power of communication.
Yes.
Okay, that reminds me, there's this one name in the Bible. There was a man called Jacob.
Yes.
Whose name was turned from Jacob to Israel.
Yes.
Yes. What was the significance behind that name?
Yeah, that's what we are looking at, how the language may bound somebody. Because Jacob meant a crafty person. Crafty. Crafty. Are you getting me?
Yes.
And then Israel means one that prevails over God. Are you seeing the difference now? You get it? So, if Jacob...
Okay. Crafty is more of like a deceiver.
Yeah.
A liar.
A liar, a cheat. Mufere. Yes.
A con man.
He's a con man. Are you getting me? So,
is there a point where Jacob exercised his name as Jacob? Is there...
He did that. He lied to his brother. He took his brother's birthright by just giving him food. And not only that, he disguised before his father Isaac, and he said, I am your son, Esau. Yet he wasn't. He put on his brother's clothes and pretended to be him. Are you getting me? So we are seeing all that kind of craftiness.
So whatever name you give your child will manifest in his character.
And that it will be a bondage. It could be a bondage. So you don't just merely name up. You don't just merely name up. And I would not agree with the traditional way of naming, that you only say, no, now this one is the name of my granddie. No, you because this is a new generation. Maybe the other person died because of the name that was given to him, or suffered because of that.
Don't carry the old.
Give the best to your child. Give the best to the newcomers.
Actually, there's some names of our grandparents, we don't even know their meanings. Even if you ask their children who are our fathers, they don't even know the meanings. And they want us to carry them on.
And what does the Bible teach you in Proverbs? It says a good name is better to be preferred than a pile of rubies. You get it? So that is exactly what we have to look at. And that's why we see that the name Jesus is the name that is high above all other names. to which every tongue has got to confess.
So that name
So
was...
changing the name of your grandfather may not be a problem as long as you've not changed the name of Jesus, because it's the only name that is unchangeable.
That cannot be touched.
That is it. It's the only name that cannot be. But we can change all other names. Just like you can change the name of poverty to the name of richness.
You know that there is this, the retired Archbishop of the Church of Uganda. It so happened that, okay, he comes from my area. There was a period, I think when he was still young, every time that man comes like for baptism and is baptizing young people, there are some names he would immediately change.
Himself.
Yes.
Yes.
The parents would have named the kid some other names, but when that kid lands into his hands and he understands, he first asks what's the name of it, and then when he realizes there's negativity in the name, he quickly changes it.
Because he was aware, he was liberated. To him, he was now liberated. But to the one that is bound, he will not see the problem that he may cause for this young innocent soul.
So there is power in it.
There is power. And actually, when we are to see in Ecclesiastes 8, verse 4, he says, "For the word of the king is supreme, and who may say to him, what are you doing?" You get it?
Yes.
We are now seeing the word of the king is authoritative. We are now looking at the language. It is authoritative, the word of the king. Remember that the Bible teaches us that we've been purchased, we've been liberated.
Yes.
The blood that was shed has purchased us as kings.
We're bought.
You get it?
Yes.
And because of this, it is not purchasing us merely as kings in presentation over other tribes or something, but we are looking at the words that are within us as being words of authority. We are authoritative, because that is what the scripture teaches us. Are you getting me? So we get to see that the king's word is law, and no one can ask him, why are you doing this? So now that is where we are. You get it?
Yes.
What kind of words flow out of your mouth? Aren't you bound by religion? Because now that would be the concern.
Is this biblical or it is human philosophy that says the power of life and death lies in the tongue?
It is right in the scriptures.
It's in the Bible, it's biblical.
It is spiritual.
Okay.
The power of life
And death.
and death are right into your tongue.
So meaning every time we communicate,
Yes.
every time we speak, that word it manifests into something.
You
Real.
either speak life or you speak death. And death could be to yourself. You are either killing or creating. So now what are you doing? That is what we need to ask somebody. That's why we get to see that this is real, very, very, very important.
So what if sometimes you say as we are joking and interacting with friends, and then we begin...
Look here, this is what the Bible teaches us. The Bible teaches us that every man shall have to give an account for every idle word. Can you imagine that even after, on judgment, you get it?
Yes.
The things that we have to account for are the idle words that we speak. What are the idle words? Is somebody to swear falsely? Hey, I'm dead, my friend. Are you saying that? But are you really dead? I die for that. You know this, when we always say things that are unworthy of mentioning.
Praise.
But this comes because we are bound by language. That is the danger now. You get it? You get to say something. Oh my God. You get to speak something that really demeans you. And something that degrades you. But you just get to, I die. Yeah, are you saying that?
My son is so useless.
No, yes.
Someone today called me Mufere. That I ate their money.
He just called you Mufere. But he called you, but you never called yourself. So actually, this is exactly what happens when you get to read. There is something that is real, very, very... it was yesterday, I got to look at this scripture, and I said, our program, we need to stick on to this program. You know why?
Yes.
When you're to read the Proverbs of Solomon, that is the 30th chapter, verse 14, he says there is a generation whose teeth are as swords, and their jaw teeth as knives, to divide the poor from off the earth and the needy from amongst the men. So that means these two categories of people need somebody that can come in.
That's a powerful statement. Where can someone get that? So they can even score it on their own.
That is in Proverbs chapter 30, verse 14. He says there is a generation. So when we get to see this and all that which is happening into the world, you get it?
Yes.
Where we get to see that it is easier to kill people than to manage them. So what happens? It comes in that now people need to know that they themselves must free for liberty.
What are the categories of people that are oppressed and enslaved?
The people that are under the privatization, they're the people that are poor. You know, beggars got no choice.
I hear you.
You only tell him, we are going to vaccinate the poor, and our drugs, we are going to test them to African countries. To us, they say that because they think we are poor people. Poor people will receive donations. We are going to give this to Africa. And are you seeing that? So we are looking at this. It talks of two. He's talking of two categories. They are to devour the poor from off the earth and the needy from among the men. So now we are looking at those two categories. People that are bound by needs. They are needy. He's needy. That means somebody else out there, he'll do all that he can to keep someone under the bondage of being needy. He doesn't have what he needs to have. Are you getting me?
So they take advantage of the people who feel they're in need.
Yes.
To oppress them. To
take away their liberty. They cannot choose. They cannot decide. Are you getting me? Because this is exactly, we say that in this nation, Uganda, since October 9th, 1962,
yes.
The first song to be sung as a way of expressing political liberty was the O Uganda.
As you lower down the Union Jack.
Yes, as the Union Jack is coming down, the Uganda flag is climbing. And what happens? Then they say, free, united, free for liberty.
United, we are free for liberty.
Yes, we are free for liberty now. Why? Because it is only somebody that is free that is able to move.
There is, when you read that, it's united, right? Then
Yes.
there's like a comma.
It is united. That is the third line. If you got the third line of the first stanza of the national anthem, when they say united and put a comma, and then they combine the three. United, comma, free for liberty. But as we said, that free for liberty was simple. That is a simple scripture that is from Galatians 5:1. What does it say? It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Now, they only put that free for liberty. It is for liberty that Christ has set us free. So that means it doesn't matter in whatever kind of angle that we take it, whether it was political or financial or social.
Yeah.
It is for liberty that Christ has set us free.
So we are free.
That's why we say, oh, Uganda.
Oh, Uganda.
Yes.
Oh, this is a very beautiful program. We want to thank you so much for keeping it Divine TV. And thank you for watching us wherever you are. This is Free for Liberty. Liberty for liberty, independence for independence. But there is one condition. For us to gain this unity, this liberty, we have to be united. Unity is the #1 condition to gain our independence and freedom. I'm speaking of mental independence. As we are discussing today, you hear more about vocabularies, the words we speak, how we articulate our words can either encourage someone or discourage someone, or can be able to set someone free. The power of life and death lies in our tongues. Keep watching.
Yes.
We have asked this question before, and I'm going to ask it again. United, then we are free for liberty.
Yes.
Do you think we have reached a point where that unity is seen?
As we say, you know,
we are still growing.
The word unity, I think the best way that we could get to express it is what is written in the book of Galatians. It says, in Christ Jesus, there is no Jew or Gentile. There is no master or slave. There is no female or male. So now, as long as we are still struggling for women emancipation, women empowerment, you know, all these are clear indication that we are not yet there.
In The Light, one of the last episodes of The Light is one program that runs on this TV station in the mornings.
Yes.
And one of the things Wanda was handling was the boy versus girl child empowerment. I said, why is emphasis being put more on the girl child and the boy child is being neglected? As though we are living in a society where it's only the female part. So as you are raising these girls, are we raising these girls to marry themselves, or we are raising these girls to get married?
You know, the first thing that you can put in place to cause a distortion is for you to cause a disorder. You know, God is orderliness. God does everything in an orderly manner. God is not disorganized, and God doesn't work under disorganization. So the best way that you can get to get God out of your affairs is you being disorderly or you being disorganized.
You trying to change the way things are supposed to
You
run.
change. Or you try to claim. Because look here, if you think now this one is weaker, how can a mother be weaker? It is something that is so stupid. If you thought like that, if you thought now the girls are despised, these are to be the mothers of tomorrow. And all people, big men and women, are here. The last thing most people do when they are dying, they call on their mothers.
Then things happen.
You get it? So it is more like natural. It is divine. Could you imagine someone that has the capacity to carry another person's life for 9 months? Is that one a weak person? No. Why would you think he's weak?
Actually, there's a fellow TV presenter who's always sending greetings to his mother.
Yes. So, to us here, it is one other way. Don't despise. You know, as we said, that it is one other way. You try to put negative publicity for something. You say, the women are despised. Who despises a woman? Women make men kneel. I'm telling you.
True.
Even in closets. In bedrooms. Are you getting me? Everywhere. Women are very powerful. Very powerful. So, we should not try to paint a picture as though women are weak vessels.
I mean, for them, they believe, I think what they believe is by showing the strength of a woman has to maybe be in some political office to show that she's strong.
No, that is not true. That is by nature. You know, that is now you assume you are meant to be. This is what King David, before becoming a king, when David was going to face Goliath, what did King Saul do? He dressed him in his armor. Are you getting me? Yes. And that is the life of so many people. The king removed his armor. He's fighting Gia. And he places on a young man. When the young man tried to put on and move from there to here, from here to there, he felt discomfortable. He said, I'm not used to this.
Things were heavy.
I know I do things. And there are so many people that are putting on Saul's armor. Maybe it is the academics. You think it is the paper, the qualification, or you're just writing an application and attaching your CV. And you think it is this that are going to work out. But when somebody gets to look at you, the way that you've come into his office, the way that you've sat, the way that you talk, the way that you look, he says this is not fit for the job.
The way you just expressing
It is
yourself.
just this soul's armor that you're putting on.
You're putting on, you're forcing yourself into where you don't. Yesterday I was actually having a discussion with a teacher.
Yes.
And I told this gentleman, I said, why are you forcing students who are not doing well in chemistry to continue pursuing chemistry?
Mhm.
Why don't you focus on strengthening their strength? If
Elsewhere.
their strength is in English,
Yes.
why don't you make them become better as English speakers? But you're forcing, don't you think you're wasting a lot of our time?
And that is the danger that we always have, as we've said. That happens in life. You are forced to do what you're not willing to do.
And even when you fail the exam, you're pained,
That happens. And look here, this is the funny bit of it, is that that's why it is not what men say, what men call you that matters, but it is what God calls you. You must know. You know what God has made you to be. And to every man, to every woman that is out there, the first thing that you must always, the best way that you can be civilized is you knowing what God has made you to be. That is the most important. Because until you get to know that, people may try to blend you into who they are. And who they are is not what you are. That's what people do. Politicians do that. He said, come, he lures you. Come and join me. Come and join. They come to join you to make them what you are. Why don't they be or become who they are?
Is politics for the people or it is for the few leaders?
Politics is for all. To those that have interest. It's something that...
No. What I mean is, when we rally after people, we are there on the roads shouting. When these people jump into this office, do they even remember the people?
Never. They'll never.
I have felt pity for people who have lost their lives. And some of these men that are dying for have never even appeared on their burial grounds.
That happens. That happens. And that's why we see that in Proverbs 30, from verse 21 to 23, he says, there are three things that make the earth tremble. Three things that make the earth tremble. And one of it, he says, when a slave becomes a king. Remember, Jesus purchased all men to be kings. But there is a great opposition that has to come in with the one that has a slave mentality. So one other way that I will stop you, I will hinder you, that I will deny you from exercising your kingship. And when I'm talking about kingship, I'm talking about the authority of your words. Are you getting me? I'm not talking in vacuum of representation, but I'm talking in terms of authority of the words. Because according to what we have seen in the scripture, it says that the king's words are authoritative. You get the law.
Yes.
Are you getting me? So, he says that what happens is that if one is a slave, who is a slave? A slave is more like a hopper. He just hops up.
The likes of Joseph.
You get it? It's just like hopping up. It's not working. You know, slaves don't work. Slaves just hop. Are you getting me? And then, in doing this, he says that that a slave who becomes a king. That means as long as our minds are having a mentality of slavery. I think that's why the black man was ruined, most especially in terms of rulership or kingship, when he was exposed to slavery. Can you imagine, like in America, for over 450 years,
Yeah.
the black people, one, could not be educated. And they could not even read the Bible for 450 years. Are you getting me? So, this is exactly what happens. Now think about such a person. You get it? If you look at such a person, then you are seeing this person is bound. That's now tonight, all that we are focusing right over, and that which we are driving our people to, is that we ought to have people that have tongues that are unbound, because the power of life and death is right embedded onto our tongue. This is what the Bible teaches us, Father, that when you get to discern what is right from wrong, when you get to know things that are of value to those that are valueless, then what happens? That God makes his mouth to be your mouth. That when you get to speak, you speak things, and these things come into manifestation.
Literally, God is speaking through you.
God is speaking through you.
Whatever you speak is God's own voice.
That means we can say now you are the spokesperson
Of God.
God wants someone that can stand up and speak for him.
An ambassador of Christ.
An ambassador of Christ. You're there now, you're speaking, and you're speaking what is divine. You're speaking from the spiritual realm. You're downloading, because it is the will of God that is meant to be done. Then that means we need someone that can come up and he gets to speak what is at the heart of God.
Wow.
So that is exactly what we are focusing at. We want somebody to be liberated. We want you to be a king. Not a king politically, but we want you to be a king by the authority of the words of your mouth.
Speak with authority.
You speak with authority, because that is exactly what it says, that the words of a king is authoritative. It has got authority. You can tell the mountain. You speak to the mountain.
We have to speak like those who have the dominion,
yes,
over things created.
Yes. You know what happened with the children of Israel when they had gone to spy? This is the report they came with. They said, when we went to spy the land, my master, where you sent us to go, we found there the sons of Anak. Are you getting me? And he said, before them, we were more like grasshoppers. Can you imagine? Only 2 of the 12 spies that had been sent, only 2, said, no, we have a greater God. Let us go. We shall run over them. We shall win them. We shall conquer them.
We believe in the one we serve.
We believe in the one that we serve. So, that is something that we must look at. That in one other way, that we need to overcome the language bondage. We need to have authority with what we speak.
Beautiful.
Yes.
We want to say thank you so very much for those who have kept it here on DF.TV, especially watching the Free for Liberty program. They always say nice things come to an end. Unfortunately, they say we shall never chase time and find it, but we have to also create time for other programs.
Yes.
This will leave us for, again, the next episode that will take place on Wednesday. Wednesday, please make sure you are here. And for those who are commenting, for those who want to reach out to us, please, there's a WhatsApp number that scrolls down the screen. Reach out to that WhatsApp number. You can comment where the whatever is. If you find this information has been so powerful and touching and transformative to your life, please take the time to share it with friends and families. And encourage people to like this thing. Because together we can transform our generation for the next generation.
True.
We want to say thank you so much and have yourself a very fantastic
Week. God bless you as you get to